as with boxing, when it's at the elite stage, you can't play games.
Out necessarily striving to win. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I told you. It's WWE. Okay? This is WWE, like I told you.
For multiple reasons. One, they have a huge size difference. Tank Davis, he's a lightweight, normally fights at 135 pounds. And Jake Paul, he's a cruiserweight, usually fights at 200 pounds.
Boxing fans, listen up. Jake Paul versus Tank Davis is not a real fight, it's an exhibition with no knockouts allowed. Floyd Mayweather just exposed the truth, and wait until you hear why he is stepping in to steal the spotlight. This changes everything in boxing, stay tuned. Floyd Mayweather recently called out Jake Paul over the no-knockout rule in Jake's upcoming fight with Gervonta Tank Davis. Mayweather says Jake only cares about selling tickets and making the event look like entertainment, not real boxing. He feels the fight is not serious because true boxing should be about skill, competition, and pride, not staged rules made to look like a show.
But like I said before, they know what they're doing. Both brothers.
Boxing analyst Wade Plemons reacted on social media, saying, "We all knew this was an exhibition, but when the Florida Commission says fighters won't try to win with full punches or headshots, that kills the excitement." His point was simple: fans expect real boxing, not watered-down rules. Meanwhile, Mayweather is once again stealing the spotlight by pushing his own fight with Mike Tyson. This is a classic Mayweather move: stay in control, stay relevant, and make sure no one, not even Jake Paul or Tank Davis, takes his shine.
Now that there's so many celebrities and so many people that are known, where you can get somebody and they can sell tickets to events, that's what kicked off the social media influence boxing that Jake Paul was birthed from. Now we're in a vacuum. And so there's going to be a lot of conversation about that and continuing to do that. In this particular video, though, I want to get into the mind of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and why Floyd Mayweather Jr. would do this. There is the money, but there's also the competitive nature of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and him not wanting to have other people think that they're a bigger star than he is. Floyd Mayweather Jr. has not been able to really launch his star outside of the sport of boxing, so he continues to do exhibitions. Now, what I think is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is announced it at this point in time with Mike Tyson in order to take advantage of the publicity heading into the Gervonta Davis, Jake Paul fight, which is, I do believe, set for November. So now that they have all the publicity and all that stuff coming out from that, he's going to piggyback on it and then try to have it in the beginning of next year sometime and actually make it a bigger event than Gervonta versus Jake Paul. And it probably will be. And the reason that I say that is because of Mike Tyson.
At the core of this drama is legacy. Mayweather is retired, undefeated, and risk-free. For him, exhibitions are about money and keeping his name alive. Jake Paul, still new, uses big events to build his brand. But for Gervonta Davis, every fight matters. By choosing entertainment over serious competition, Tank risks hurting his career reputation. Fans are asking, is short-term fame worth long-term respect?
Whether what is going to happen in that fight is basically the same thing as what's happening to Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford, except for that is a live action fight that is a real competitive fight, but the marketing of it is the same thing. And the fact that somebody is going to pay for it is more likely with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Mike Tyson than it is with even Jake Paul and Gervonta. But I think that it really is an attempt to compete with Gervonta Davis by setting up a bigger fight than Gervonta Davis is having. And I'm going to tell you this something else too. I would not put it past these people.
The Jake Paul versus Tank Davis fight alone could have been the biggest story, but Floyd Mayweather made sure all eyes are back on him. He has mastered the art of attention for decades. His fight with Mike Tyson will overshadow Jake and Tank because it has nostalgia, legacy, and superstar power. On the other hand, Jake versus Tank is only an exhibition, not an official bout. No knockouts, no titles, no real stakes. Critics compare it to WWE-style entertainment, fun to watch, but not real boxing.
Will face Gervonta Davis in an exhibition match. Quote, "You can't do a fight like that as a pro fight," Shipman said. "It'll be an exhibition fight," end quote. Similarly to the concerning location move, he states that the main reason for this is the significant weight disparity between the two opponents. An exhibition is defined by Florida statutes as a boxing, kickboxing, or mixed martial arts engagement in which persons participating show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win, using strikes, elbows, blah, blah, blah. So, the key word here is, key phrase, show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I told you. It's WWE. Okay? This is WWE, like I told you. These are setup fights. These are rigged fights. I know Jake Paul gets upset when people say he ain't a real fighter and all that stuff, but I think the Mike Tyson fight pretty much showed everybody that Mike was pulling back on his punches, and it just was weird to me. You know what I'm saying? Now you got Gervonta Tank Davis getting ready to sell his soul to go up in here and move around the ring with Jake Paul. I don't know what's going to happen on this. I don't know, but regardless of the fact, the fight is going to do well because it's going to be on Netflix. So everybody got Netflix, so everybody's going to watch the fight. So it's going to be like a wrestling event, basically, a fake scripted fight.
Former champion Paulie Malignaggi strongly criticized the matchup. He said knockouts mean nothing if the fight is staged and one-sided. He believes Jake Paul is gaining fake credibility by fighting in events that are more circus than sport. He also pointed out that the weight difference between Jake and Tank makes it unsafe, which is why the commission approved it only as an exhibition. This proves the fight is unbalanced from the start.
Paulie, knockouts, dude. Knockouts. People like knockouts. They don't care if you're knocking out cab drivers. Look at Jake Paul's career.
You can manufacture that though. You can manufacture that though. You can manufacture
knockouts. You can't manufacture.
To a degree, you can. To a degree. I mean, you can. Yeah, Gervonta legitimately cannot get knockouts. I agree. He can punch, but there's a lot of limited knockout artists though, man.
He's one of the least active punchers in the game with the highest knockout percentage of current heavyweight.
But if he was a real knockout artist,
current champion.
If he was a real knockout artist, could it prop him up against the best of the best? Felix Trinidad was a knockout artist. He was knocking out the best of the best. If you're a real knockout artist, prop him up against the best and show us how he smokes them. But the way Wayne did when Felix Trinidad was doing it. You know, the way they did it when Mike Tyson was doing it in his prime. Okay, say what you want about the Mike Tyson era. He knocked out everyone from 1986 to 1989. Everyone got knocked out. Everyone.
Well, by your standard, you could say that Tyson was, to a degree, manufactured.
No, because he fought everyone that was there. Everyone that was there at that time fought.
Teddy Ellis will 100% agree with this because he would say the guys that were afraid of him.
With the exception of Witherspoon. No, but they all, doesn't matter. He knocked them all out. There was nobody you could say in that era except maybe Witherspoon, who I contracted.
You could say the same thing about?
Who had contract issues with King at the time. Oh, except for Witherspoon, there is nobody Tyson didn't fight in that era. He knocked them all out. You can't say like, oh, but if he would have fought that guy, I don't know. No, with Davis, there's guys right now that have been hanging around for years. Yo, dude, when are you going to fight them? The lightweight division was staffed with talent. Even at 130, it had a lot of talent when he was there. Didn't fight almost any of them. So it's not the same thing as the Tyson era. You want to say anything about Tyson era? Fine. It wasn't as high level or something. He still knocked out everyone. There was nobody there in that era that you say Tyson didn't fight.
Didn't say it was related. It was the same as the Tyson era. Didn't say it at all. I was actually going to say the opposite when you talk about Trinidad. Trinidad is a bona fide superstar. And the way that he was, and he, like you said, he
stepped
fought
him up
everybody,
and he knocked out.
And he was a knockout punches. No, of course. So that's a different thing. So is Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, you also have to compare it to your contemporaries. Nobody is selling, dude. Nobody is selling. No one sells tickets. No one has a following these days. There's very few fighters who actually sell tickets.
There's a push, bro. I was at
Canelo
Showtime.
Alvarez.
I was at Showtime.
Canelo Alvarez.
Bro, but no, but champ, Champ, I don't want to keep cutting you off, but I got to. Because
They
here's the
all
thing.
push.
They
work
there's a
sometimes,
push
they don't.
for certain people. I remember being at Showtime and even watching on HBO on TV. They're mentioning Saul Alvarez, who I didn't even know his name was Canelo at the time, as a possible Mayweather opponent when they were talking about possible Mayweather opponents. I'm like, I knew who the rest of the guys on the list were. Who the hell is this guy? Who's Saul Alvarez? That he's going on, that you're putting him in a list with all these other guys that you were bona fide champions and high-level fighters.
Broadcaster Ade Oladipo gave another angle. He said exhibition fights make sense for old fighters past their prime, like Mayweather versus Logan Paul. But doing it while Jake and Tank are both in their prime is a mistake. They are wasting valuable years that could build their legacy. For Oladipo, the issue is timing. This fight is happening too soon and could hurt their future reputations.
Whether you agree with it or not, Gervonta is considered the #1 lightweight in the world. And it's a division that includes Shakur Stevenson, a lot of young guns coming up. I'm not any more sure if it's going to include Keyshawn Davis, but it's a hot division. He's considered #1 in that division. Like, that's why I kind of find this a bit, I don't know. Like, there are challenges out there for Gervonta. There are big money fights out there for Gervonta. We want to see Gervonta in those fights. Again, I don't know how many fights people want to see AJ in, just to make the AJ Jake Paul comparison. One, as far as I'm concerned, that was Tyson Fury. I don't really have any interest in seeing an AJ in any other more fights. Whereas Gervonta Davis, I wanted and still do want to see him in so many more fights. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. These exhibition things are, like, really and truly, they should all be when your career's done. Like, when you think of Floyd versus Logan Paul, done, right? Floyd versus Conor. Did he have one more after? Or was that it? I can't even remember. But it was right at the end. It was done. Right at the end. Even if it wasn't. Right at the end. These guys having these exhibition fights in between what is the peak of their career is kind of weird for me. Very, very weird. And then it isn't even comparable to Ngannou Fury, because at least these guys were the same size. Like, Jake Paul is a 215, 220 pound guy. I don't know what he walks around at. Gervonta fights at 135. Guessing he walks around about 155.
Reports even revealed Tank Davis canceled his planned rematch with Lamont Roach just to fight Jake Paul. That decision shocked many because Roach was a serious challenge that could boost Tank's career. Instead, he chose money and hype. This shows how boxing is shifting legacy versus business. Fans also can't ignore the unique clash. Jake has size and power, while Tank has speed and elite skill. The big question, can raw power beat world-class technique?
So, breaking news, Jake Paul will be taking on Tank Davis in the exhibition on November 15th in Atlanta, Georgia, live on Netflix. And this is crazy for multiple reasons. One, they have a huge size difference. Tank Davis, he's a lightweight, normally fights at 135 pounds. And Jake Paul, he's a cruiserweight, usually fights at 200 pounds. So there's a good 60 to 65 pound difference here. It could also mean that Tank Davis is no longer interested in competing for titles anymore and is cashing out of boxing. You know, there's been a lot of talks that Tank is nearing retirement this year, and he was supposed to rematch Lamont Roach after their first fight went to a draw. But instead of chasing the Roach rematch, instead he takes the Jake Paul fight for money. So maybe this is Tank's last, or one of his last fights. And same for Jake Paul. He just got ranked number 14 at cruiserweight after beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So he's supposed to be fighting other ranked contenders or top guys at cruiserweight. But instead, he's taking a money fight. But I do expect these two to go after each other. Even though it is an exhibition, I don't think it'll just be some boring sparring match. I do think they'll try a decent amount. But Tank, obviously, is a lot more skilled. Jake has a lot more size. But you guys let me know who you got.
Former heavyweight Eddie Chambers warned people not to underestimate Tank. Yes, Jake is bigger, but Davis has much higher skill. A smaller, smarter fighter can still break down a bigger opponent. Chambers said this fight isn't just about size, it's a test of Jake Paul's ability to handle true boxing IQ. Skills often beat size.
That something like this can happen, but this is social media, this is what is created. There's a lane that Jake Paul has created. Honestly, I'm not mad at him for it. He's gotten a lot of fighters and, you know, actual fighters some shine. It also has done for women's boxing a lot. So I'm not mad at him for what he's been in boxing, what he's created. This is a little crazy. Yeah, this is a little crazy. And a lot of people will say, Tank is too small. Let me tell you something. anybody that gets in the ring with Tank that is not a damn dinosaur is gonna feel something from him. And it ain't gonna be easy to hit him. Got boxing IQ. He may not sound like an intellectual guy when you hear him talk, but he knows the ring inside and out.
In the end, one thing is clear: exhibitions make money. Mayweather already showed the formula: mix celebrities, hype it up, and cash in. Jake Paul followed the same path, and now Tank Davis is stepping into that world. Whether people love or hate it, they will watch. And that attention turns directly into pay-per-view sales. That's the real win.
Aside from make it extremely ugly by grabbing him and probably trying to throw him to the ground, I don't know what else, bite him, I don't know. But I mean, the skill level alone, now of course, there is a size difference, a height difference and all that, but he's just gonna struggle so much landing a shot. You know, it's just gonna look bad. To me, this is the way I see it. It's gonna look bad. Tank is gonna be too fast. And the punch, I believe, I'm not saying it's gonna knock him out or, you know, but he's gonna feel.
Are you surprised at the backlash that Tank is getting?
No, yeah. What is going on with why they mad at the fighters for this?
That's all for today's breakdown. Stay tuned, because boxing never stops surprising us. The drama, the money, and the rivalries keep growing, and we'll keep bringing you the truth behind the hype.